Hi there, this is Matt Heffernan. Welcome back to the Retro Desk. And today, again, not really the Retro Desk. We're still on the old Swedish desk, or rather the new Swedish desk. And the actual Retro Desk you saw in the beginning, that'll be coming up in another episode. But for now, I want to do a quick video focusing specifically on the AgonLight2. I did an unboxing of this yesterday. This is the Olimex version. Now, Olimex is a company in Bulgaria that makes all sorts of stuff like this. These retro computers, development boards, just all sorts of neat little doodads. And I wanted to clear up some of the things in the unboxing video, like the identity of some of these components that are on here. Now, first of all, this is not an FPGA. In fact, it's important to note that the AgonLight, the whole Agon family, do not have any FPGAs on there. It is all fixed logic, and it's got here. This is actually a big RAM chip that's on there, and I believe it's 512K of RAM. And the Z80, while it is backward compatible with the original Z80 and can function entirely as an 8-bit chip, it does have specific new features that make it able to do these 24-bit operations. So there's all sorts of things. And of course, the original Z80 had all those 16-bit operations, but the internal ALU of the Z80 was actually only 4 bits. So those 16-bit operations were rather time consuming. Okay. The UEXT port right here, this user extension, this is actually a specific add-on from Olimex. They sell a range of items that use this. They have other boards that have this port, and then you can hook up all sorts of I/O to this, including small displays. You have like Ethernet, RS-232, all sorts of stuff on there. So check out Olimex. Not a sponsor, but just a pretty cool company doing stuff, and their prices are very, very reasonable. So at Olimex, you can get the AgonLight2 for 50 euros, and then of course plus shipping. Uh, things can get expensive when you're shipping out of the EU, but to America, I don't know exactly how much it costs because this was sent to me for free by my friend Snake in Australia. And he's been one of the people working on software for this and specifically concentrating on creating a fork of the old CPM operating system that will run on this. And so that's something I'm going to be getting going on here too. So that if you have a George R.R. Martin type person in your life that insists on using WordStar, this is a machine that may actually be able to make that happen, actually bring back that original user experience for some of these old CPM applications. So that's a pretty neat thing. I still not sure exactly what this port is for, but there are some other purposes for it, and that's something we might explore later on. And I still have to learn like what these jumpers are for and how the GPIO can be used. But I know routed to the GPIO, or perhaps maybe they use not exactly sure where things are getting routed to, but there is an onboard UART on the system. So one of the interesting projects going on, specifically Tom Cherryholmes, is creating this FujiNet connection, and that connecting different retro computers together, hopefully having some sort of BBS, and that means having interchange over the network between computers like the Agon 2 or the AgonLight2 and the Commander X16, and being able to have things like shared online games, multiplayer stuff going on. It's gonna be pretty neat. So anyway, those are some of the things I wanted to make sure and clear up. But what I also wanted to do is show you how to get this hooked up and start playing with it. All right. So what you're gonna need, because this is literally all that came on there, is the board itself and the little rubber feet. I did manage to get these rubber feet on. It takes a little bit of twiddling, but basically you just kind of have to bend it and screw it in there, and eventually the little small nubbin makes its way through there, and now they're in there pretty good. This is all I plan to do with it for now in terms of mounting, but eventually I may take these out and put this in a proper mount. Olimex also sells 3D printed cases, but there's if you have your own 3D printer, you can go ahead and print one out for yourself. There are, I believe, open source designs for this. So that's all you get. So what you don't get with it is the software that runs on it and the firmware that actually makes the whole thing run. And for that, you're going to need, of course, a micro SD card. Now, the software is free. There's a link at the Olimex website for the specific build of this software that you're going to want on there. It comes with the low-level firmware. It has this rudimentary operating system called MOS, and it has this special version of BBC Basic. And so you can just download that and put it on. You have to format the micro SD card as FAT32, so it's going to be a little easier if you have a Windows system to do that on. I did it with Linux, and it was a little more fiddly with Linux because Linux doesn't want to make things look like vanilla FAT32. So eventually I got that to work. And then, of course, you're going to want a monitor with a VGA connection. There are adapters to go to a VGA if you say only have like DVI or DisplayPort. It also is happiest with 4x3, but you could do it on a monitor that is wide, and it might stretch it out, and it'll probably look okay. I prefer for these old machines to use one of these. In fact, I have a stockpile of these that I salvaged from my day job, and yeah, and I've been helping people get some because they're kind of hard to get. Like even at the Salvation Army, you're not going to find them. So anyway, so you're going to want that. Oh, let me actually connect these things as I'm going in here. So I'm going to put the micro SD card in there, and we're going to connect our monitor. I'm not going to bother screwing it in. And then the other necessity, of course, is going to be a keyboard. Now, I had shown before the fact that I was using a Parix keyboard that is native PS2. Now, that works out just fine if you have the original AgonLight that came out, that not the Olimex one, because that had an actual PS2 connector, but this has that USB pass-through, so you need to have a USB adapter. Now, the USB adapter that I have was two-headed, and it had like a mouse and keyboard input going to USB, and then so this keyboard actually didn't work. It didn't work with that adapter. Did not want to connect properly. So I tried a few of my other keyboards. I have some much nicer keyboards. They did not work. What did work was the worst keyboard I have in my possession, this Amazon Basics. This is one that I also got from my day job. It's like an extra one that I'm not using for anything else right now. And this is what actually worked. It is a USB. So yeah, directly USB, but thankfully it is a versatile enough that it can actually speak PS2 through the USB so that it looks just like a PS2 keyboard with a USB adapter. So I plug that in. And so that's now going to work. This is, I heartily do not recommend getting one of these keyboards. There are other keyboards. There are, in fact, some very nice keyboards that speak PS2, including the from WASD. They have some very nice keyboards that are, in fact, they're USB-C native connection, and then they have adapters that go to PS2, and those work just fine with something like the Commander X16, where you only have the PS2 connection. So a keyboard like that will work. This is I'm gonna make do with this one for now. I might try some other keyboards that I have and see if it works a little better. But anyway, that's what we got to work. And then optionally, I've got some speakers here, some old school speakers, although these are brand new, because I didn't have speakers quite like this anymore that had a built-in amplifier and a 1/8 inch, the 3mm type plug. And so that can go right in here. I will turn the amplifier on that. And then finally, what you need is power. So it takes a USB-C power. So I just have this USB-C cable connected to like a simple cell phone charger type adapter. And so I just plug that in, and then it just boots right up. And so there we go. We've got here this VPD, which is for the low level thing, is my understanding. And then MOS is this very simple operating system. It's running on there. And then, of course, BBC Basic. So, yeah, you can say, of course, you got to do caps lock. That's kind of the annoying thing, is that everything is sort of case sensitive for the commands and expects them all to be uppercase. And when it boots up, it does not boot up with caps lock engaged. So you have to actually hit caps lock, and then I can say print, and then I can say, and I'll hold down the shift to get lowercase again. Hello, Agon. And there you go. So it's able to do all that. And then you can use the operating system. The operating system commands are preceded by a star, and they're pretty standard Unix DOS type commands, like dir will show all the files that are on the root of this drive. And actually, technically, it's not the root of this drive. There is a subdirectory that it's automatically booting inside that has all of these basic programs in there. So this is showing the contents of these basic demo programs that come with this image. So what we can see are there's like a bunch of different benchmarks in there. There's, of course, a Mandelbrot set. So let's take a look at that, because that's kind of similar to our 8-bit Battle Royale. Now, from what I've seen, you don't have to add the .bbc for a BBC Basic program. It can figure that out on its own. And so I just load that, and oh, you know what? What I did notice is that, similar to when I created the repo for my multi-Mandelbrot, I misspelled Mandelbrot, and they have misspelled it the same way here too. So, oh, so much fun. Now, you can see this is a fairly high resolution plot, so it's not going super fast. But my understanding is that this is the maximum resolution. It looks like it's 320 by 240. I might be mistaken. So I'm going to have to, I don't know a whole lot about how the video works on there, but it is a far simpler video interface than what you get on, say, the Commander X16. It appears to have maybe 16 colors on there. Again, stuff I'm going to have to figure out. But you can see it takes a while to actually get through this. But you can see the very beginning of the plot starting to pop up over there. And so I'll definitely create a BBC Basic version of the Mandelbrot set plot for this. And I know somebody else has created at least for the original Agon, the Z80 assembly version of that plot, and we'll get that running on here too, and we'll see exactly how fast this is, because again, that's supposed to be the main selling point of the Agon series, is how fast they are. That they are putting the Z80 up at its the fastest speed it can with other modern components on here, but still trying to keep things in that 8-bit realm. So here, I'm just going to hit the reset button. Another thing, unfortunately, is that there is no power switch on there. You just have to pull the power cable. But you know, it's what you got. Oh, again. So you notice I hit reset. I lost the caps lock, so I gotta redo that again. Oh, and I'm saying Stardust. Whoops. Yeah, I've got a sort of code switch now between the X16 Commodore Type Basic and the CBM DOS and this operating system. So let's take a look at some of these others now. Here is this Cube demo, and this shows a little more of some of the graphical capabilities. I'll say solid for this, and I think 1 is the nicest looking. Now, of course, it's very flashy. There's no double buffering happening here. Obviously, it is just going through and re-rendering from black every frame. But it's it's still pretty smooth. If double buffering could be implemented, maybe that would be a little nicer. And I don't know, maybe I'll take a look at this code since it is just in BASIC and try to tweak that and make this look a little nicer. But as you can see, it's doing a lot of floating point calculations on the fly in BASIC. And so that's actually pretty impressive once you understand what this is having to do in BASIC and not in assembly, where you can sort of fudge things out a bit. All right, so I don't want to be over flashed with that. So we can see again, caps lock, star, der. Now there apparently are hardware sprites in there, or maybe they're not. Maybe they are software sprites. I'm not sure. So I'll load up the sprites demo. In fact, here, if I do a list, you can see everything that's going on there. Yeah, well, I'll have to also play with how this house works, how I can sort of list, say, like 100. There. Okay, so just started there. All right. List 100 to 200. There we go. Yeah, so I'll have to examine this code at some time. But anyway, let me just go ahead and run it. And here we can see some very basic sprites moving around. Now you can see my monitor is trying to figure out what's happening. So it looks like it is able to switch video modes. So it's changing resolution or color depth or something. And you can see it looks like it made the display narrower. So it goes all the way to there, but it seems to stop right there. So we're not getting the full 320 pixels going that way. So I'm not sure what resolution we're dealing with now. But so there are sprites. It's able to do that. And finally, there is a sound capability too. But this is again not terribly sophisticated, at least from what I hear in this demo. So yeah, a very buzzy, noisy, Amazing Grace comes out of it. So this does sound like it's just a very simple sound generation. There is that onboard buzzer on there. But my understanding is that is separately addressed from the sound generator that would go to the speakers. And yeah, so that's some of the stuff that's on there. So I'm gonna explore a lot of these things that are on here, explore these other demos and these benchmarks, and try to get a good understanding of what the performance capabilities are of this, what sort of graphical and sound capabilities are, and to see if there's a possibility of taking either one of the games that I've created and making for this. Like a simple one would be Word Slide, which of course is just a clone of Wordle, and maybe making that work for here. Seeing if that can be have a nice looking version that runs on here. It would have to be completely rewritten in Z80 assembly, but it should be quite. If I can do it on a VIC-20, I'm sure I can do it on this. So yeah, that's gonna be it. So I I will definitely be playing with this more, especially once I get CPM running. I'll make sure and do a demo of that, and I'm gonna play with these benchmarks, and we'll for an old time's sake do a 8-bit battle royale entry with this guy, and we'll have, of course, what I also have running is the Commander X16, and we can see head to head exactly how those the different hardware platforms compare. All right. So that's all I got for you. Let me shoot up the patrons right now, and of course I gotta thank those guys for all the support that they've shown on my channel, and I hope that you enjoyed what I got here at the Retro Desk, and that if you haven't yet, please comment on this video. Let me know what you want to see with the Agon. Let me know what you have seen on there that you might want to understand better how it works, and I can explore that. But definitely, if this is the kind of thing you'd like to see on the channel, click that like button and subscribe. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, what you waiting for? Just subscribe. It's free. But if you want to throw me some extra money, you can join one of these patrons and see all this content ad-free before it comes out to the general public. And that's it. All right. I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.